Here's the signal chain of my rig. It's a Warmer Strat with a Pearly Gates Plus humbucker in the bridge and a 59 in the neck. Single volume knob and a telly style three-way switch. Runs out of the guitar and back into this JFET buffer splitter. So it comes in here. There's two separate JFETs in there that are running in parallel. One of them comes out of here and goes to my Korg tuner, and the other one comes out of the other input and goes directly to the wah. This button here is a mute switch for that one, so I can silently tune on stage. And it comes, the wah's been modified for true bypass, and then it runs into this build your own clone phase 90. That's true bypass. Then it runs into this ZVEX show type pedal. That's true bypass. It runs out from there through like an 18-foot cable into the front of the amp. So it comes out, we're seeing it here coming back from there into the high input. It's a standard high input, high-low type input, you know, Fender type circuit with the 1 meg and the two 68K resistors. And I'll try to get a shot of it here. You can see the jacks there. They're wired up like the way Mojave Amps does their Peacemaker jacks. So that's the wiring style I used, or how I soldered them in there. And plus there's a small capacitor right here. You can see that one. I think it's a 47 picofarad across the 1 meg, just to try to help eliminate any sort of like radio interference coming in there. Back to the signal chain. Then it goes into the preamp. This is the 2-channel amp. The channel switching is not set up yet, so the first 5 knobs, here's the clean channel. It's just standard 2 gain stages and then an EQ. And then the clean channel and distortion channel share the first gain stage, so it's a lot like the Lennon Power standard preamp. And these 6 knobs here are the distortion channel, so it's gain, bass, middle, treble, presence, a lot like the Ignator presence, although I use a 3 meg pot and it also has a presence cut feature, so we can either boost or cut presence, and then a standard volume knob. From out of there it goes into the effects send, which is here, and it's a pretty typical tube buffered effects loop. It's not the best all tube effects loop in that it uses a slightly different, well, it kind of uses your standard sort of buffer, tube buffer for the send, and then the return doesn't have any feedback, so it's not the virtual earth. On the return, there's send and return knobs on there. So it comes out the send, back here, runs into my Boss DD Giga Delay. What is that, DD20? Out of there into this MOSFET Clean Boost. This is just for soloing volume levels, for volume solo, boosting my volume for solos. That's what it's doing, and it's the Jack Orman AMZ MOSFET Clean Boost, and it can be run at a higher voltage, like probably up to about 20 volts would be fine for it. But it's nice and transparent, and it doesn't seem to overload the input at these line levels. Comes back out, back to the effects return, and then straight into the phase inverter. That's the signal chain. It's the stock transformers on this Basement 10, so I think it's an 8 ohm output on the output transformer. This is a Rivera cab 412 slant. Originally came with 4 16 ohm vintage 30s. Right now I have no vintage 30s in there, just 2 Mojo Tone BV25M in the 2 top slots, and then I'm using it as like a detuned cabinet, so there's 2 huge ports in the bottom where speakers used to be. So it's just the Mojo Tones. I'm not super pleased with those. I mean, they're good speakers, they're just might not be my sound. So that's it for the rig. I'm going to try to get some shots of the circuit board, some close up here so you can see it. Input section. I'll just go along it here so you can kind of get the whole picture. That separate board is the bias and the rectifier. And there's my first stage filter cap. It's a can cap, so it will handle 500 volts, but this transformer puts out about 510. So I did have to add this 50 volt Zener right there. Drop the mains, the B plus down a little bit for the whole rail. Keeps that capacitor from blowing. Let's see, let me get a close-up of some of the wiring back here. Pretty proud of the heater wiring, that looks pretty good. There's the phase inverter tube socket there, and the speaker output jacks. That's your on and standby, mains fuse, ground switch to the ground lift style in the tut books. Regular IEC input, and then there's an IEC courtesy outlet, although I don't have that wired up yet. Here's the effects loop section. Here you can see that's the switch for the series parallel switch, so it just grounds the dry path when you don't want it to be parallel. Makes it series. These are going to be the foot switch jacks. Foot switching is not going to be done until I get this oscillation, this squeal figured out. This is the hum balance pot. So you can see it runs, there's the two wires coming off the heater, runs in there. And then the center lug runs here, right there. Then we have I think that's a 100 ohm resistor to the DC standoff heater reference. So it's your standard, what do I got there? 470K and 100K for the voltage divider there. And I think that's probably a 10 microfarad cap to cut down on the ripple. See if we can get a better look at the input jacks here. This is all upside down. The input jacks, that'll be the channel switch right here, not wired up yet. Here's where the signal splits. Well, let me back up, get some light. Here's where the signal splits for the clean and distortion channel. So it comes through the coupling cap, and then one resistor, and then straight out to the drive pot for the clean channel. And then the drive channel goes through a 470K, 470 picofarad combination, and then through this shielded wire to the drive channel's gain pot. You can also see how I tried to keep this wiring neat for the EQ section. So I twisted them all together, but to make them nice and neat, it's really hard to see this with the lighting. Maybe I can tip this up. Almost forgot this amp's still on right now. Probably get zapped here if I'm lucky. Here we go, I'll try to get a shot of the wiring of the pots here. So you can see everything's kind of tucked down under the pots to keep it looking neat. But maybe that's causing some parasitic oscillation, I don't know. So that might be my first thing to try. There's a shot of the cap for the presence control. You can see on my schematic that I posted on the power scaling forum what that circuit is. It works pretty good, but I think in the neutral position it still might affect the tone. I might try bypassing it a little bit there. The presence control, which is on the far right here, that's disconnected. It was a Vox AC30 style presence cut. I don't have any negative feedback on this amp right now, which I'm going to change. I'm going to put a standard negative feedback and then a real presence and depth type controller standard bit. This is the master volume and then the lead boost. Like if you have TUT 1, he explains it there, the London Power Standard preamp with lead boost, just like a Mesa Boogie rectifier too. They use the same style. So that's the wiring. Maybe that's causing me some issues. I'll try to do some tests now with a buffer, see if that makes anything definitive.